Through their housing fund, Amazon is creating and preserving affordable homes with 99-year affordability commitments, so families can live in the communities where they work for generations to come.
At Amazon, we believe everyone should have access to a home they can afford, and we're partnering locally to help make that possible.
Support from partners like Amazon help us continue advancing projects that are grounded in our community priorities.
Amazon, proud supporter of local communities like yours.
And now, the Cascade PBS Ideas Festival, featuring journalists and newsmakers from around the country in conversation about the issues making headlines. Thank you for joining us for the political scene from The New Yorker with Robby Hoffman, moderated by Tyler Foggatt. Before we begin, a special thank you to our members. We'd also like to thank our premier event sponsors, Amazon and HX Expeditions, our founding sponsor, the Carrie and Linda Killinger Foundation, our session sponsor, Alaska Airlines, and our host venue, Fremont Studios.
Welcome to the Cascade PBS Ideas Festival and to a special live taping of the Political Scene podcast from The New Yorker. I'm Tyler Foggatt, and I'm a senior editor at The New Yorker magazine.
Oh.
And I'm really excited to be here today with one of my favorite comedians, Robby Hoffman.
Oh, thank you, Tyler. My God, you killed that.
When did you first realize that you were funny?
No idea. I come from a funny people, and everybody was funny. When I was like put against normal people, it seemed that it was unusual, but it was not unusual growing up.
So even when you were a child, you were just cracking people up? And
everybody I knew was funny. My mother was funny. My brother Shmuley was funny. I was funny. We didn't even think it was funny. Yeah. Everything was funny.
And how much has your humor evolved since you were a kid? Like, have you kind of just kept doing the same thing, or do you feel like as you progress as a comedian, you're like trying things out or doing a new kind of joke, or just leaning more into being yourself?
Yeah, I think just always being more me. I think like as a kid, you're born and you're you, and then you go through school, you go through other things where it's like, oh, it's not really that good to be you. I was annoying, I was loud, I didn't like authority. And so you press back, and then I was boyish, and that wasn't good. And so I always was kind of watching myself, you know, you start to get self-conscious maybe as a teenager, and you go, oh, I'm sitting like this. See, now I don't even think about it, but I would have sat like that. I would have changed to be more girly, because I didn't want to be like, you know, I wanted a boyfriend, I wanted what everybody wanted. But I'm sitting like this, you're not going to get no boyfriend. So I would sit like this. And so then when I started doing stand-up allows me to be the most me. Like, I'm not like me, like I'm me, like if you went into like the booth and you went, you know, all the levers, you just put your hands and you went crazy. Stand-up, I'm just flying. And it's, you know, it's not like I'm not the most me now, but it's just, that's like it's almost like a THC. It's like, it's so concentrated in the stand-up, and then it's a little more like a hybrid in life. Yeah, I'm not such a weed person, but, you know, I think we know enough of the language here in Seattle, so. So I don't know if it's evolved. Yes, it's always becoming more me, the most me. I don't limit or anything. And I also don't choose my thoughts, you know, so I feel like if somebody gets mad at me, I said something or I was asked something and I thought something, I don't even know where thoughts come from. I don't want to think of half the things I think about, but I have to, you know. I have a joke about pedophilia. I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't know what it was. I wish I never knew what it was, but alas, I do, unfortunately. So, you know, I just talk about, what I think about stuff, and I'm also joking a lot. So, and that's how I grew up. Even the worst things we joked, you know, everything was talked about, and there was also a layer of humor that was kind of a way to deal with everything too.
Have you ever been surprised by a person or group who got offended by a joke that you thought was like pretty anodyne, and then vice versa.
Right.
I'm wondering if you've ever been surprised by someone not getting offended by a joke that you thought was pretty hardcore.
This just has come up for me. You're catching me on the tail end of my first attempt at one of these groups coming for me. It's amazing. Of all the things I said in my special, and thank you for anyone who's watched the special, by the grace of God and all of you.
So good.
It's gotten the recognition that it has, solely by word of mouth. But of all the things I talked about in that special, the only people to come after me was the pit bull community. Okay, like the dog people. I talked about raising the age of abortion to the age of 10. Okay, the pro-lifers were, nobody cared about that. I've talked about so many things, but when you touch dogs, oh. And then recently I did call her daddy, and she asked me a silly question about gluten or something, and the celiacs came after me. So of all the communities, it's like these ones. And I think my point of my comedy is, and when these groups come after me, it's fine. I know people are trying to we're angry and people are frustrated and they're trying to silo it and take it out and all this stuff. But the whole point is, that I think there's other things going on. I think it's important why nobody is spared, so to speak. I joke about everyone and everything. It's not personal, and find the celiacs are allergic to gluten in comedy, apparently. But, but it's just also to point, and I go after my own communities and groups, it's just a point that there's other things going on. It's important not to always center ourselves in the victim narrative, especially when, it's easy to get caught in those small traps. And I think if we just came together, more of us, and stopped siloing so much, that's why the nobody is spared. It's like, actually, okay, I make fun of you like this, you could make fun of me like this. People call me a they call me a it's all good. We're on the same side. It's the people versus the power. So it's just an idea not to take ourselves so seriously unless, it's about serious, really big things that we can come together and work on together. I don't know how articulate that was, but they'll edit.
I have to go back to the pit bull community coming after you, just because that's like maybe my worst fears. I mean,
I know they're as scary as the dog. I had no idea. Because they said that the dog sometimes looks like the owner. You ever see this? That they hear that the dog looks like the owner, but I never knew it acted like the owner. You know what I mean? I didn't know the personality side of it, but it really is true. You got to be careful out there.
So, transitioning into talking about your television acting a little bit more.
Yeah.
You're in Hacks, Rooster. I should also say that you were in the FX series Dying for Sex, where you played opposite Michelle Williams.
Thank you.
But just going back to Hacks, which had its series finale last week, you played an assistant in an entertainment agency who rises very quickly.
Yeah.
I know that the character was initially written for you, but how much did you have to do with the character's eventual narrative arc?
Nothing.
Yeah,
I mean, they saw me.
You're like, God,
as a
they captured it
stand-up.
so well.
Yeah, they liked me, and they wrote Randy for me, and it's like all the roles I'm doing. Maybe, I do a little version of myself. I'm not necessarily the Meryl Streep version of acting. I'm more the Adam Sandler. I can, I can push it. He's pushed in Uncut Gems, and maybe. For the tiniest taste, I had my push in a Dying for Sex role, which I think was surprising for people. But then on the other roles, some of the, fluffier roles, so to speak, Randy, she's eager, she's nerdy a bit, she's fresh-eyed and all that. Maybe in real life, I'm a little swaggier, a little more confident. But it was fun to play that. And then, in Rooster with Steve Carell, I play like the opposite. I'm still me, but I'm like this lazy roommate in a robe, who's not eager and all this stuff. Randy and I really did have a very similar story in that I was new to acting. Randy's new to the business. Randy's trying to do a good job as an assistant, keep her job. And I'm trying to do a good job with the character. to keep acting. So we were both in a very similar, we were both new to the thing that we were doing in real life and on the show.
So you've spoken about your childhood during your stand-up and in other interviews, but in case anyone in the audience doesn't know your backstory, I'm wondering if you could tell us a bit about your upbringing, since it was pretty unique.
Oh my God, what a disaster, my upbringing. I'm one of 10 kids. I was raised predominantly by a single mother. I'm 7th of 10 kids. My parents had us all by the age my mother was, I think, 30 by the time she had the 10 of us. Yeah, enormous vagina. I know, it's insane. It's insane. No, that's where I get mine from. I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed. No, I'm my mom's 7th kid. She had me at 27. So we grew up poor and really limited in many ways, but also, yeah, I don't know. It's very hard to explain to a family, maybe a nuclear family or somebody who grew up normally, like comparing a family of like 12 people to a family of 4. You know, 2 parents, 2 kids versus my mom, my great uncle Eddie, and the 10 kids, how I grew up. But there's a lot of co-raising that goes on. It's more of a community situation. You know, it's like, yeah, there's the parentification that's unhealthy, but there's also a beautiful part to it. You know, my little brother is not just my little brother; he's also my son. So the way that we were, it's just a totally different way of growing up.
So, as you mentioned, you grew up poor, and I hope this doesn't sound weird, but I really appreciate the way that you talk about
good.
Just sort of that experience.
Why would that sound weird?
Well, I mean, I don't know, because it's like I don't know. I hope that
You
it
don't
doesn't
sound weird at all. You
Yeah.
sound great.
No, I mean, I also grew up poor. I mean, a totally different
terrible.
upbringing, but like, yeah, I mean, it's just like, I just feel like it's one of those things where even once you get to a place of like relative financial stability, you just never get over it.
you never
And I
get
think
over it.
that poverty tends to get romanticized in TV and film, like this idea of like the starving artist,
No.
and like the, you know, like the kid who makes it and that kind of thing. And just like, it just really means a lot to me, like personally, that you like try so hard to consistently counter that narrative and just be like, yeah, actually that really sucked.
Yeah. And that's why it's like, I don't mind when people get, you know, caught up on the pit bulls or whatever the issue is. I always bring it back to that. I'm like, okay, you had your 2 seconds, back to this. People still poor. I just will never get distracted. I'm like, and we're back. People are still poor, here we are. I can't get over it. My chip is only getting bigger. I'm horrified by the whole thing.
I mean, how has the experience changed your orientation toward politics? Like, I think you said in the past that Republicans and Democrats are the same thing, and it's really just the rich versus the poor.
I mean, that's what I think. Yeah, I think it was, you know, nominal differences at the top. I mean, you know, think about who was on Epstein's Island. So, you know, it's like they were hanging out, you know, and they weren't hanging with us. And that's how it always was. I've been through, as a kid, I've been through Democratic administrations, Republican administrations, we never got a drip. Nothing really, it didn't affect our lives at all.
I mean, we live in a time where there are so many like so-called populist politicians, both on the left and on the right, who talk about their working class backgrounds and run on affordability platforms. And sometimes it feels real and sometimes it just doesn't. Like, one of my favorite jokes of yours, which I think you've said on like a couple podcasts, is just like, you're the only person who can actually prove that you worked at McDonald's.
That's true, because the pictures, I know. And maybe she did, we don't know, but anyway.
But would you say that there are any politicians out there who are actually doing the populism thing right? And when it comes to conversations about poverty, especially policy conversations, is there something that you feel is just consistently missing from those conversations that you wish people talked about more?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not that something's missing from those conversations, it's that conversation has to be the conversation. It's that sometimes they go, well, we were having the conversation now, so what's the problem? Well, we need to keep having it for 200 years, because how long have they been having the red versus blue before it became the way that we do things? They've been talking red versus blue for 200 years. So 200 years on poverty, and then maybe I'll be okay. I'll be okay. But it just started happening, and every time the conversation about income inequality or the classism of it all comes up, it is shut down. You know, there are moments of it. We had Occupy Wall Street, you know, Bernie before the DNC squashed his too. So there's, you know, it's like there are conversations, but the idea is like, okay, we had it and we're moving on. No, we're not moving on. It's just like when Trump was asked about Epstein, they're like, we're still talking about this? You better believe we are still talking about this. And I am still talking when, you know, when somebody's mad about a loaf of bread or they're mad about a dog, I go, that's fine. Back to here, right? Because red versus blue had to be talked about for hundreds of years for it to be the status quo. I want this to be the only conversation. I want this to be what determines. So I'm repetitive. Every interview, I go back to this because we need 200 years of this being, it's not just a conversation. Classism is the conversation. The haves versus the have-not is the conversation. And how much worse does it need to get for you to realize that that's what it's all been about? It's literally the people versus the power. The people versus money and power, period. Until we can get a better grip on that, I can't see myself really screaming about anything else.
Are there any politicians who you think are centering the conversation that way?
Oh my God, I do, yeah. And they have to get, but you know, but it's hard to keep them there. I think Mamdani is tremendous. I still think Bernie is unbelievable. I mean, I would take a senile Bernie over, I would even take him at 90. You know, we accepted Biden for so long. I'm like, I'll take an old Bernie even. Even if he has half a thought, it's better than most of the full thoughts of some of the people we have. You know what I mean? So I think, of course there are people, it's just, it has to be, again, the focus. It has to be the big, they can't be, it shouldn't be fringe. And I'll keep screaming about that until red versus blue moves back to people versus power.
Do you think that people of different political persuasions genuinely find different things funny? Or do you think that everyone secretly finds the same things funny, but it's just a matter of some people not allowing themselves to laugh?
I think it's the latter. I think it just because I think I'm a testament to that.
Yeah.
Because I go everywhere. I literally like know what's going on before. It's so funny. Like, it's not even funny. It's tragic. But, you know, living in LA, I think so many people around me were stunned when Trump won again. And I was like, are you joking? Like, I'm around this country. I am boots on the ground, and I've been to almost every state. And yeah, I think it's different. It's an allowance thing. I think that it's funny because I go to some states where people go, oh, I'm doing the South again and stuff like that. And they go, I have some people come to shows, they didn't even want to like me. You know what I mean? They have preconceived notions, what kind of person I am or whatever. They didn't even want to like me. And they go, all right, can I get a picture? You know, so it's like, whether, you know, it's just, yeah, laughing can be guttural and expansive. And I've just gone person to person. There's nobody I really won't talk to. And I think that's a testament to how I grew up. You know, I was born 9 other siblings there. Well, 6 other, and then 3 more came. And, yeah, I'm so comfortable being in a space, you know, where we don't always agree and with tolerance, you know, to some extent. Like, I also didn't have my own room or, you know, space that was my own. So it's like, maybe if you're a rich kid and you fight with your sister over a T-shirt or something, you go to your room, she goes to her room, you know, bye, you know, whatever. But you know, if my sister and I were fighting, it's like, the bitch is in my room. Like, we got to go to sleep somehow. You know what I mean? Like, we had to figure it out. So I'm so comfortable coexisting with people we might see not eye to eye. It's just not an issue. I don't see it as a thing. You know, my brother, for instance, is somewhat homophobic, and by somewhat I mean he's homophobic. So I'm not encouraging. But the way he calls me, he goes, you know, because he's a security guard, and he goes, they're doing Pride at the, you know, they're having me do Pride. And I'm like, well, you're not on a float. Like, are you taking your shirt off? Like, you're working security for the event, which you do many events, you know, so, and he goes, yeah, I just don't like the whole gay agenda, this and that, and the gay people. I said, well, I'm a gay person. He's like, well, not you. Like, he doesn't even connect. He's like, I'm not talking about you. You're my flesh and blood. Take a bullet. He's talking about gay. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just leave it there. You know, love is love. But he doesn't really, I think people sometimes just say stuff because the heart isn't there. And I think we were so comfortable growing up with different things and just tolerating, and also we could watch movies together. Like, beyond that, it's just we could hang and think differently and know that we were still in it together.
Yeah.
Like, all is possible at the same time.
Do you think that Donald Trump is funny?
Extremely.
Yeah.
One of the funniest ever, unfortunately so. I wish it wasn't so. Again, comedy, it's like what the question you asked me. Is he funny? Insanely funny. I send my wife memes, you know, he's got the meme, he's got, you know, even the AI memes of him are good, you know, him walking over the bridge, you know. It's just, his stunt with McDonald's was unbelievably funny and petty. You know what I mean? But that's what, you don't want that for a president. You know what I mean? Like, that was good on The Apprentice. Like, that's not, you know. But yeah, I got to give it to him. He's funny. Well, I can't lie. I wish I could. See people get mad.
I mean, on that note, like, a lot of people have argued that, like, his humor is part of what helped him win the election.
I'm sure.
And I guess if, like, we usually see being funny as a really good thing, like almost like a virtue because it has the power to uplift people. But, like, is there a world in which it can actually be more of like a enabling force, essentially? Like, if you're really funny, can you get away with basically anything?
No, because he's also really dumb. So this is the problem.
Okay, yeah, you've explained this a little more.
Right, like he's really funny, but when he's dumb, he's really dumb. So it is, he toggles those two, and one really loses him people. The funny is like, all right, for this bit, you know, the straws was funny as hell. You know, people talking about straws. He was totally right about that. But then some of his is really dumb.
I know, but I mean, I guess I don't mean like, are we willing to forgive him absolutely everything? But just like, I guess
I don't think people are forgiving him. I think he's losing a lot of his own people. I think he's been exposed and yeah, I don't know that people are forgiving him so much anymore. People are really frustrated, and as they should be. And they might not know, they might be scared still to speak out on him or whatever, so maybe they jump on the pit bull thing or they jump on something that's a little more, you know, I'll go after, you know, but I think deep down they're really frustrated.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely true. And there are obviously a lot of people who are, you know, unwilling to forgive him anything. And perhaps
but I also
shouldn't.
don't forgive, you know, I also look at it again, not to do Trumpers, but, you know, Democrats, the system helps each other. Democrats ushered him in to a large extent, you know, so I think the system works to keep each other in power versus a new or something different or a real system that works for the people. You know, as soon as the system you find out politically that the government works for companies and not for people, right? Companies through lobbies pay the government collects money from people and distributes it to the other companies. If that's the system, then they work for each other to keep each other in power because they're still paying each other the same things, right? So I think the DNC, you know, putting some senile guy up there, we were all like, what? He seems like, I felt bad, like my own grandfather, I wouldn't keep him up. Like, my grandfather's got to lay down. He's got to take a lay down. Like, this is crazy. I wouldn't have my grandfather going to Europe and then flying here.
Yeah.
It's like insane. You know, my grandfather has a big book. He wants to take a lay down. I go, take a lay down. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they have him, you know, and then they put in Kamala last minute and she was establishment and then I was, you know, I remember, so it's like they knew that they were putting in someone that had, like, it was crazy to usher that in. So I think both sides the side thing is falling apart. It's being exposed, you know. I'm on the side of the people. I've never been red or blue. I am for the people, by the people, of the people to the day I die. So that's the only side I'm on. Where are the people at?
Are there any Democratic politicians who you think are funny?
Bernie, I think Bernie was funny. Listen, now that my Netflix special has popped off, and by the grace of God and all of you again, I'm thinking maybe, you know, maybe I give back. Maybe I throw my name in. You know, you think Spencer Pratt's the only with a good idea? Maybe I throw my name in the hat. I wouldn't be surprised because it's like if you like Trump or Bernie, you kind of end up at me. I was doing the math. I'm like, it could be me. It might have to be. So I don't know. I think they're both funny. Maybe it's a New York thing.
Isn't there another Robby Hoffman who's running for president?
There's a Robby Hoffman, and God bless him. We've really put him on the map. People were sending me pictures, Robby Hoffman for president, and it was even in my neighborhood. There was pictures on people's lawn, Robby Hoffman for president, and I was like, is this like Moses? I've been like told that I have to run. Like, I literally thought up, like, is this biblical? Like, God, and I'm like, God, well, why me? I'm in no position. The people are after me. I can't be out in public. And no, truly, it's this dude, and God bless him, state of Florida. He's got a little dog, like a terrier with him. Think he's a gay thing from Florida. I wish him well. And he's been running for years. He runs every 4 years. I guess he's got parents' money. I don't know what he has, but he gives a valiant effort, and I think we got him some votes this year. So I don't know. I don't know.
I'm wondering if you think the concept of a joke has become diluted recently. Like, I feel like it's so common to go online and see something that's like hateful, and then this part's like really important, like not even funny, and then someone will just be like, "Oh, I was joking." And I wonder if that's like offensive to you as someone who actually tells jokes.
No, nothing's offensive to me. It's the problem.
Absolutely not.
And I also don't think being offended is that bad. So
Is it
let's
annoying?
say somebody is offended. Okay, you were offended. What are you expecting to live a life offended free? I don't even understand the concept. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't think being offended is that bad. I think being poor is bad. See, I go right back to here.
But I can't let you leave without asking you about Unentitled, which is the series that you're developing for HBO. And I'm just wondering if you can tell us anything about it, give us like any updates on when it might come out.
I can't.
Okay. Nothing.
Nothing.
You're not going to bring it back to the poor somehow?
Oh, you watch. You watch. You watch. Yeah. No, I would say if I had to say anything, I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
You almost got me. You almost got me. You almost got me. But I think it's best to save it as a surprise for you guys. I think everybody will enjoy it.
I think that's fair.
So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here,
Thank
Robbie.
you.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you.